Hello, how in the world are you? Here we come and find ourselves at step number 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step number 4 seems to be the boogeyman, for many people. For others, it's step number 5. But some people become really afraid to deal with step number 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. What are we talking about here? Okay, first of all, we're talking about an inventory. And as it says in the big book, any business that does not take a regular inventory is bound to fail and go bankrupt. And so we, as addicts, have not really looked at ourselves in a long time. As a matter of fact, we kind of been isolating ourselves and isolating ourselves from other people, isolating ourselves from real thoughts and reality, and just living in our own cocoon, in our own world. Well, this is a time where we want to reconnect with God, reconnect with ourselves, reconnect with the human race. So we make a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. What bothers some people is the fact that we say it is a moral inventory. Now, when we talk about moral, I mean, you could look it up in the dictionary. There are many meanings, but one of the things we're talking about when we say morals, we're talking about right and wrong. And then we kind of get into the, do you believe in absolutes, or do you believe in relativism, and is your right my wrong, and my wrong your right, and your orthodoxy my heterodoxy, and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm talking to you about is, what do you think was right and wrong in your life? What are some things that you've done against your very own morals? What are some things that you've done that you said you would never do? What are some things that you said you would never say? We're not talking about my morals. We're talking about your morals. Now, we do have some almost universal morals. The big book suggests that you could use the 7 deadly sins. Almost everybody believes adultery is wrong, murder is wrong, jealousy might not be too great. It causes us harm to be so angry. Gluttony is not a good thing. Those are some things you could use when you do your moral inventory. Fear seems to be detrimental to many people. So if you want to do a moral inventory, you can deal with those types of things. The 7 deadly sins. Others, of course, may want to take the 10 commandments if they want to. But you could stay away from religion if you want and just deal with what have you done against your own morals, your own self. Where did you fall short yourself? We want to take a searching and fearless moral inventory. What was right about it? What was wrong about it? Now, one of the things I will hasten to say is that when we do our inventory, we're not just looking for all bad things. There are some good things about you and me. Even in the midst of our addiction, there was some good things about us. One of the good things is we're human beings, and all human beings have some good things in them. I was told when I came in one time, they said, you're not a bad person trying to get good. You're a sick person trying to get well. And I understood that inside of me there was the yin and the yang. There was some good, there was some bad, but I was not all bad and I was not all good. So when you do an inventory, look at the good and look at the bad. What many people have a tendency to do is to fall in one or two traps. Some people don't want to take an inventory because it overwhelms them with shame. They have a tendency towards shame. Terry Bradshaw said one time, how did he explain it? He said, shame is different than guilt. If you do something wrong and you feel guilty, that may be proper. Yeah, you're guilty. You did it. You murdered somebody. You're guilty. You feel guilty about it. That's proper. But shame is not feeling guilty about something you've done. Shame is feeling guilty and just shameful about who you are. It's not about what you've done. It's not the fact that I stole something. It's not the fact that I told a lie. It's the fact that I am a liar. I am a thief. I am no good. Shame overwhelms us with a sense of the fact that everything about us is rotten to the core, that we are no good. And so some people can't really go into a moral inventory because they are overwhelmed by shame. And that's a shame that really it's not proper. It's not proper. I was told one time that I had a disease and it was called terminal uniqueness. What do you mean? I said to the fellow, terminal uniqueness. He said, you're going to die of a disease, terminal uniqueness. You think you're so unique. You feel so much shame as though you're the worst person that ever existed. He said, man, that's a lot of pride. Now, I had never thought about feeling down as pride. I thought pride always puffed you up. But he said, no, you got the kind of pride that says that you're so bad, the grace of God can't reach you. I'm such a worm that the grace of God can't. It takes a lot of pride to think you're the worst person in the world. It takes a lot of pride to think that you've done something under the sun that nobody else has done since Adam. Whoa, I mean, I'm really unique, and I'm going to die of terminal uniqueness. That really hit me, that it was pride that made me think that I was so terrible that even the grace of God couldn't touch me. That's the kind of shame I'm talking about that you need to throw away. As you do your moral inventory, that shame that's a clinical factor. Something's wrong there. You are not the worst person that ever existed. And believe me, you have not done anything that at least one other person has done. You're not that unique. And you don't need to die of that terminal uniqueness. Take a moral inventory. Don't let shame overwhelm you. But then you have on the other side those people that have false pride. I can't personally get to it, but some people have false pride and they think they're the king of the mountain, and they think that their stuff, in a sense, don't stink. And they think that they're just good, that what they do is right and they're okay and they're the top of the mountain. They speak the best, they laugh the best, they walk the best, they talk the best, they do their job the best. Me take an inventory? For what? I'm perfect. That's a false pride that won't allow them to see their real self. You see, to take a moral inventory, you have to have humility. And humility has been defined as seeing things as they really are. Not groveling in the dirt, not becoming a doormat. That's humiliation. That's not humility. But humility is taking a correct view of yourself and seeing things as they really are. And the truth of the matter is, you're not all that and a bag of chips. That's false pride. False pride makes you think that you're everything. And that's a person really that has a lot of fear and is afraid to look at what's really real. So as you take your moral inventory, I want to caution you not to allow shame to overwhelm you so that you're just bogged down in writing, and you can't do it. Or pride that says that you haven't done anything wrong. False pride. When we take a moral inventory, it's suggested that we actually pick up pen and pencil and write it down. Make a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Actually write down what you have done. A searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And what do they mean by searching? Take your time. Take your time as you write it. Don't be rushed. Take your time. Maybe you need to take just 15 minutes a day. Maybe you take a half hour a day, whatever you have to do. But just take your time and write out that inventory for yourself. They have guides that you can use. You can go to the big book and look it up how they did it. But you need to take a moral inventory of yourself in order for the business of your life to go on. Now, the reason we can be fearless is because of the third step. A lot of people are afraid to take an inventory because they haven't successfully taken the third step. They made a decision, but they haven't put that decision into action. And they haven't done the third step prayer. You can look in the big book. It talks about a third step prayer where you actually pray to your higher power and turn your will and your life over to that higher power. And they give a suggested prayer. You don't have to use that prayer. It's a suggested prayer that you can use. And if you have really, truly turned your yesterday, your today, and your tomorrow over to a higher power, then you ought not be afraid to do a moral inventory. Your higher power loves you, remember? So you can be gentle with yourself. You can join the human race. You can recognize that you're not a bad person trying to get good. Just a sick person who's going to be well because you're taking this inventory. You're going to get a reality check of how things are. Don't dwell on all of the bad. Don't dwell on all of the good. Just take a thorough moral inventory. Now, one of the things I want to note about the fourth step is that it's a moral inventory of who? Ourselves. It's a moral inventory of ourselves, not the other people. It's not a moral inventory of my wife or my boss or anybody else that may be in my life. It's a moral inventory of myself. And when I came, they told me that I'm not all wrong and I'm not all right. But I need to take a moral inventory of the part I did wrong. Now, maybe somebody else was 90% wrong and I was 10% wrong. Well, I need to take a moral inventory of my 10%. Look at my 10% 100% of the way, okay? Look at what I've done, because it's a moral inventory of myself. In other words, I must clean up my side of the street.